Welcome. I'm Ingrid Carlsen, and I am so very glad that you're here with me today. We are talking all things Masterboard, and then we are making all of these projects with just one sheet of 8.5 by 11 Masterboard. So if you want to learn how, stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you took a minute to go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified anytime a new video comes out. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new to junk journaling, or maybe you just haven't heard of this concept of a masterboard, it's a mixed media collage technique that is going to combine found and collected papers, ephemera, and it binds them all together to weave a tapestry of memories and imagination. We're going to start by creating the base of our masterboard, and I've decided to pull out mainly ledger papers as well as few florals sprinkled in here and there, and then a few stamped items that I had in my stash, but I'm keeping the base pretty neutral, and it's going to allow the elements that we stick on top of it later to really shine. When I'm cutting out my papers, I'm going to make sure to get different angles. So maybe not all of them going the same direction. I'm just looking for pieces that are fun or that just speak to me when I'm cutting them out. But there is no wrong way of doing this. You literally could just slice up a paper in just strips and use it like that, or you can cut your edges with a ruler and use them like that, and the sky's the limit. I'm choosing to use a wet glue for this, but you could also use a glue stick or Mod Podge. I find that this glue is really good for the end result being very stiff, and so that's why I'm going with this one. This collage is going to serve as a background or a backdrop for creating a lot of different things in your junk journal. So what are some things that we can create today? We're going to make some tags, some bookmarks, labels, Polaroids, and you can even do a full junk journal page, which I'm going to show you at the end. If you've never tried out a masterboard, I really encourage you to do so. It's really enjoyable and it's a relaxing process, and it's an excellent way to use up those scraps of your paper craft projects. I am using one of my printables that I just gave you guys, and if you want it, it will be linked down in the description below. And I'm also using other scraps from other digitals as well as just scraps that I had laying on my desk. When you begin laying your papers down, I would suggest you put on a movie, or you put on some music that you love, or a podcast, or listen to the Bible online, and just let your mind zone out and just do kind of like a puzzle where you're just piecing pieces together. And I always say, just do what your heart wants and what makes you happy. If a piece doesn't really fit, but it makes you happy, then add it on there. It's your project to make as you want. You can also choose for your papers to go past the edges, as you see a few of mine have, and then cut off the excess afterwards. That sometimes is a little easier than trying to line them up. Now I'm on to the second part of the masterboard. So the first part was the base layer, and that's going to be most of my neutrals. And now I'm going to start to add just a little color. I pulled out some vintage pattern paper as well as some digitals with florals on them to add a little pop of color and whimsy. And you guys know that I can't do any project without adding some florals to it. The best thing about a masterboard to me is that once you start cutting it apart to make, let's say, a tag, you have no idea what you're going to get. And so that's why I say just put the pieces that you love, because they'll peek through your projects and you will just get an instant warmth in your heart just seeing the little pieces that you have added peeking through. In this step, you can go as ornate or as simple as you want. It's whatever your heart speaks to you at the moment. There's days where I've made them and they're very much more cluttered and colorful than this is. And then there's times where I've made them where they're a lot even less colorful than this one is. So it's completely up to you. Feel free to add as much ephemera as you want. This turned out to be my favorite part is when we start cutting up the papers. Now, I have no preconceived notion of how wide or long I wanted anything. I just knew that I wanted to make at least one tag, one label, a Polaroid, and a journal page. And what I got was even more than that. So I'm going to start off with this rectangle and I'm going to tape it down just a little. And I'm using a self-healing mat that has some lines on it so that it makes making these lines a little bit easier. I'm just going to draw out some lines of where I would cut for a Polaroid. Again, there is no wrong way. This isn't a normal Polaroid because it's obviously more rectangular than square, but it still came out so beautiful at the end. So I encourage you to just play around with different shapes and just do what your heart tells you to. The X-Acto knife can be a little fidgety at times, and so just be patient with it, and if you need to, bust out those scissors and get those little stubborn edges. Now, the inside of my little Polaroid here is going to be a perfect tag, and so no piece gets wasted at all, which is really awesome. I love that. As you can see by my scrap pile that I save up, I don't like throwing anything away, so I love the fact that I can use pieces over and over. The second Polaroid has a smaller center than the first one, but I think it made the absolute cutest tag at the end, and I think it's going to be the star of any junk journal page that I decide to put it on. As I'm cutting out the corner notches for these tags, I have one bigger piece of paper in the background there that you can see. And I'm not sure if I'm going to leave it like this as a full journal page or not. I'm not sure if it's big enough. So I'm grabbing a journal that I want to stick it in and just testing it out. It's actually the perfect size. So I'm going to go ahead and just start working on it as is. To make it just as beautiful on the back as the front, I'm going to add some of this beautiful floral print, which is from my Garden Serenade kit that came out probably around the same time last year. And it's a perfect base with the florals. If you've been on this channel long enough, you've heard me say that I use florals as a neutral. I feel like they go with anything. I'm going to lightly decorate the back as well so that I have a beautiful piece on the front as well as the back. Since this is going to be a full junk journal page insert, then I want to make it extra fancy and pull out some laces and fabrics that I've been holding on to just tell a beautiful story using beautiful pieces. I love how tapestries tell stories and invoke emotions of love. And I think that an awesome way to honor something like this is to use fabric that means something to you. Whether it's something old that you've picked up from a store, or maybe it's a piece of clothing that one of your kids wore, or that it's an old shirt that you absolutely love, but it got stained. And so now instead of tossing it, you can use it in your memories. I have a serious question for you. Is there anything happier than pom-pom trim? It's so sweet and delicate, and just the interactive aspect of it, just kind of like being jingly on the edge. I absolutely love it. I actually noticed that Dollar Tree is now carrying the pom-pom trim for Christmas. Can you believe they're already decorating for Christmas? But anyways, it's a great time to pick it up there. After lightly gluing my fabrics in place and getting my ephemera ready, I took it over to the sewing machine and I sewed down each of the fabrics so that they would stay put, but it still gives me room to decorate. If you're wondering about the book that I'm pulling the ephemera from, this is my ephemera holder. It's made using a mixed media book, and if you want to know more about it, I have a full video where I show a in-depth tutorial of how to make it and use it, and I'll have it linked down below in the description. It's actually one of my favorite pieces, and I absolutely love storing my ephemera this way. It's so much easier to use. It keeps everything at my fingertips and it displays it in a very pretty manner, making it easier for me to pull pieces. What is your favorite part about making tags? For me, it's adding the toppers, and I love using seam binding to add a whimsical bow. Sometimes I make regular bows, or I do like I'm doing here, and I just kind of try to manipulate the fabric so that it emulates kind of a bow, and scrunch it together and then add a staple to hug it on to the top of the tag. Because of our collage, the pieces that I'm working on are already ornately decorated. So making my ephemera clusters on top is very simple. I like to use a method of having an ephemera piece with a label and then a sentiment on top. And I feel like this formula always works no matter how you like to do your clusters. I'm using the exact same method here for this tag, except I'm going to add a little piece of avocado dyed paper in the background. This Polaroid turned out to be my favorite piece of the whole bunch, and that's because it just kind of came together. I didn't overly think it through, and I just let the pieces do the talking for me instead of trying to make something. I just let it happen organically, and I absolutely love the way that it came out. I toyed with adding avocado paper to the back of this, but I really love this Greek paper, and I'm leaving just a tiny little edge on the border because I think it adds so much whimsy and interest to projects to have matting. I've talked about this several times, and if you haven't tried it out, I definitely think that you should. And let me know how it works. Do you like to do mats, or do you like not to do them? That's something that I picked up when I was doing scrapbooking, and it's something I have not let go of. This year, I'm really trying to use up all of the products that I have. I have pretty things that I've collected throughout years and years of doing this, and I'm going to, instead of hoarding them, use them up. And so I found some ephemera. I'm thinking this is from Prima, but I'm not 100% sure. It's pretty old, and I think that it's so pretty, all of these pieces. I forget that they're in the back, and I haven't used them in so long. So I'm very happy that I was able to find a place for them. Not only that, they're so gorgeous and just elevated this kind of Polaroid tag to the next level. Do you agree? I told you that this little scrap was going to win your heart over, and wait until you see how easy it came together. Again, the background papers just paint the picture for me. It does most of the lifting, so to speak. And so now the ephemera can just shine. And look at how adorable he is. I'm just adding some of the mini ephemera from Tim Holtz, and it comes together so easily and quickly. And I think he's so adorable. Do you agree? Are you a lover of miniatures like I am? My last piece is our full page journal, and I'm going to add some fun seam binding at the top, and I'm also going to distress it using some Distress Oxide in brush corduroy to give it more of a weathered look instead of being so stark white. And even though the back already looked adorable, I love adding the avocado dyed paper so that it gives me some place to journal. Then I decided to just add some ladies as well as some of the square ephemera from Tim Holtz. And I think that they are simple and elegant and pretty and just take this page up just one more notch. As we finish up our tag, I just want to let you know today, in case you haven't already been told, you are wonderfully made. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength, and you are loved so much. Thank you for being here today, for spending your time with me, and I hope that you leave with an inspiration to go create something beautiful today. Even if you can't do a full 8.5 by 11 sheet, even if you just do a small tag, just make something beautiful with your hands today. I thank you so much again for being here. A big, huge thank you to my Patreons. Love you guys. And until we see each other again, love you. Bye.